Welcome to the first ever episode of the Bonus XP podcast, a podcast all about video games because there isn't enough of these in the world. I'm your host, Luke Morgan, and joining me today is Conan.
Yeah, g'day.
And Greiner.
Oh, hoi hoi.
So, a little bit of background on us. We're all gamers, we're all friends, have been friends for 30 plus years, going back since the early 80s. I've always been a bit of a PlayStation fan, leaned towards PlayStation. Some people say I'm a PlayStation fanboy. I don't think it's as strong as that. Conan, correct me if I'm wrong, you've always sort of leaned towards the Xbox side of things, especially hardware. Whenever there's a new launch, you seem to get the Xbox first over PlayStation.
Yeah, look, I'm a man who appreciates quality and just sort of looks for the best in things, and Xbox tends to be the one for that. So that's where my allegiances lie.
Well, this is going to get heated quick. And Greiner, for as long as I've known him, has always been the PC guy who's been playing PC since Solitaire, and Minesweeper was all he had on there. Is that a fair assumption?
Sure. I just like the raw power. I like being part of the PC master race.
I remember you as an Xbox man.
It's true. It was only because I couldn't afford to be a PC man.
And then he ascended many years ago. We've been arguing over work emails for years, it feels like, about consoles and games. So that's us. Like, we're three friends, all with sort of different gaming alliances, you could call it. We do get along. We disagree on a lot of gaming topics, and I think that's what makes us probably different than a lot of other podcasts. Is, you know, we all sort of lean one way or another with games, but we all sort of appreciate good quality games. So, bit of background on myself. So, I've been playing games for as long as I can remember, since I was 4 or 5 years old. I had older brothers in the house, so there was always a Sega Mega Drive, a Nintendo 64, a PlayStation 1. Like, my first memory of really getting involved in games is watching my brother every single day play Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PS1. And every day he would get home from high school and I would beg him to play that game again. And I just sat there and watched it. Conan, give us a little bit of history on your gaming history and what's your favorite game of all time? Just so, because you can tell a lot by what someone's favorite game is. So,
if you tell a lot by a man by his favorite video game.
Exactly. That's the famous quote, I think.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've been playing video games as long as I can remember. I think the Sega was in my house, and then the N64. Obviously, I was born in 93, came out in 96. So pretty much as soon as that was out, I had one. And every spare moment we had, that's pretty much how we spent our time. We just played video games. In terms of favorite games, I don't know. It would probably have to be Ocarina of Time. It's kind of the bland answer. Every list of best games of all times has it, but there's a reason for that. It's a masterpiece. It's a work of art. It's one of the most influential games ever made. It was phenomenally ahead of its time. It remains like an amazing game, even nearly 20 years after its release. I can't say anything new that hasn't already been said about that game, but it changed my life in a lot of ways, I think.
I'll have to check it out. It sounds good. Greiner, what about you?
So I grew up in a family that was not into me having a games console at all. So I would always try and go around to friends' houses and they'd be like, "Oh, do you want to go outside and play in the sandpit?" And I'd be like, "No, can we play Carmageddon on your dad's PC?" They were always way less into it than I was, but eventually I got my first console. I got a Game Boy Pocket. That was my first console at the age of 10.
Sweet.
But ever since then, been really into games. I was into games then, I just wasn't allowed to be. And my favourite game of all time, it's hard to decide, but I think I have to give it to Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It just came out at a time when I had a lot of procrastinating to do, and man, that game let me procrastinate. So it's an excellent RPG.
See, that is actually a game I've never played. Like, I'm a big BioWare fan, but I missed that game. I got into BioWare with Mass Effect, and I found it a hard game to go back to because I did try. And I believe I tried to play it on an iPad,
Yeah.
and wasn't the way to
not
play
cool.
that game, I don't think. So
It's been funny listening to people talk about the Mass Effect trilogy and its re-release recently, and the whole time I'm thinking, but they did this with Knights of the Old Republic first, like all this story, this world building. Anyway,
a lot of same voice
true.
actors as well
Yeah.
turn back up in
Yeah.
Mass Effect. But so anyway, we're going to be doing this podcast probably every fortnight going forward, covering. I'll be gathering sort of the news of the week or the fortnight, and just sort of giving it to the guys. I'm more informed when it comes to news. I sort of know more about that than I do in my day job. I know as soon as things are happening because I can't get off social media while these guys I sort of can fill in on it and get their opinions live as they find out, which I think will be interesting. And coming from our different sort of backgrounds and tastes in games, could be some fun opinions when it comes to consoles and stuff like that. But this week is a big week in gaming. E3, I've called it before the Christmas for gamers. It usually is. It wasn't a great Christmas this year. I'll just put that out there now.
we're all very naughty and got coal in our sacks.
Exactly. COVID coal. But the thing is, like, still a big week. When I look at the games that have been announced or that we know more about now, it's a big list of games. It's very selfish to not be impressed. Microsoft alone had 30 games that they showed off during that thing. It's an impressive list of games. I think, obviously, I'm always a little disappointed ever since PlayStation stopped going to E3. I loved their conferences and they sort of just came out with the big hitters. But yeah, it was an all right week. So we're going to get into the E3 conferences. Not all of them. I don't think we need to talk about the Gearbox conference. Borderlands movie looks great.
Can I just ask real quick? So why did Sony stop going to E3?
Because they think they're better than everyone else.
That's the answer I was fishing for. Thank you.
So they don't need it, is the thing. Like, honestly, they were like, why do we do this? Nintendo sort of were the first ones to abandon E3 and they started doing their own Nintendo Direct the week after E3 or around E3 and not going to the conference itself. Like, it cost them a lot of money to book out that venue, like a lot of stuff to organize and everything like that. And Sony, before COVID hit last year, I believe it was, they announced they weren't going to go there. And the year before was their first year, I think, where they skipped it that year and it wasn't going to be an ongoing thing. And now they don't even talk about it. And they host their state of plays every 2 months or so, which is fine. And I mean, and they're still the market leaders when it comes to console. So, like, honestly, like, it hasn't really damaged them the way I thought it would be. So,
but it's just kind of a dickish thing. It's like, I feel like it's kind of like the Oscars. Nobody likes the Oscars, but everyone knows they sort of have to go there and it means something because it's the gold standard. Everyone turns up and plays ball. I feel like E3 is the same for games. It's like you turn up and you show what you got because that's just how it works, and this is the time that everyone turns out.
Well, okay, but let's get into it because, like, no, if you look at it from like a business perspective, why put all of your eggs into this basket when you dominate the news for about 6 hours and then the next conference is airing and then everyone's talking about Xbox's games and then Nintendo's the next day and then everyone's talking about Nintendo, where you can skip that and 2 weeks from now have a 1 hour state of play where you show all your games and you dominate the news for that week. Like, everyone's talking about the God of War.
Right.
Like, honestly,
let me ask you then. Like, do you think E3 should be abolished? Like, we shouldn't have it?
I think E3 is dying.
E3 is in its dying stages, and a lot of like gaming insiders and journalists who go to E3 every year feel like it's coming to an end. There's so many conferences now. That's the thing.
Do you
Like, you
have
can't
sources on
have.
that?
Yes, I won't reveal them. It's the word on the street.
Yeah,
It's the word on the street.
It's the word I made up.
Like, the thing is, there's so many conferences now. You can't have a big showing at E3 and then big showing at Paris Games Week and then a big showing at PAX and then your own, like, PlayStation had their not state of play. There was a PlayStation experience that they had once a year as well. Like, you can't hit all these things because people will be like, oh, why is that game not getting shown? Oh, because it's going to get shown at the next one. Might as well just show stuff when you want to, and instead of building it up and participating in this whole thing. And yeah, Sony turned their back on E3, and yeah, it makes sense though.
It's a weird, you say it's Christmas for gamers, but you're like, screw Christmas. I hope it dies. It's kind of weird.
But now,
it's a weird attitude.
but now Christmas is all year.
But there is something said that it is fun that this E3 time of year, we get all the announcements, we get to see all these games. Like, there is something fun about that. It does feel a little bit like Christmas. It is unfortunate that Sony has decided not to play along with Christmas. It's like one parent's decided to give gifts to the kids on Christmas, and the other one's like, no, I don't believe in Santa anymore, and everybody's getting nothing.
Yeah, or they're like, wait till New Year's, I'll give you twice as many presents. It's
Yeah.
like,
It's all commercialism. I don't believe in Christmas. I'll give you one on December 27th.
Yeah.
But look, I can't agree more. I wish Sony were there. That's what made it Christmas for me. I thought they had the best conference every year. Will give you a bit of insight into my psyche. Every now and again, if I'm bored on a Friday night, I'll sit down with some popcorn and I'll watch the 2016 PlayStation E3 conference.
That's not
And
the
then when it
saddest
finishes,
thing I've ever heard.
And then when it finishes, I'll watch other people react to the PlayStation E3 2016 conference.
That's the saddest thing.
If you're listening and you haven't watched the 2016 conference, it is the best press conference in the history of gaming. Just hit after hit after hit. Just from my memory, it's been probably 3 months since I watched it, but Resident Evil 7 was revealed after a big break in Resident Evil, announced as a fully VR game. Death Stranding's reveal and announcing Hideo Kojima had partnered with PlayStation was revealed then. Spider-Man being made by Insomniac Games was revealed at that conference. God of War was revealed at that conference. Days Gone was revealed at that conference. Last Guardian had its release date finally announced at that conference. It was just hit after hit after hit.
One of those turned out to be a really good game, though. Maybe two.
You got a couple.
All of them.
No.
Death Stranding.
You're not saying Death Stranding is a good game.
Okay,
I know your feelings on Death Stranding.
Death Stranding wasn't as great as it could have been.
You're like that guy who listens to football replays from 30 years ago. You're like, oh, Johnson, he had the best arm in 72.
Oh, the 98 Knights Grand Final.
Exactly.
Yes. But anyway.
If they just put me in that final quarter, I could have scored the final goal.
See, I did give you some insight into my psyche because that's exactly my
really
thoughts.
did.
You know me like a book now.
Oh, it explains so much.
Anyway, we'll get into it. E3 sort of started this week with a non-E3 conference. This conference was sort of a way to be like, well, I'm going to do something that's not E3. So Jeff Keighley does this every year now, the Summer Games Fest, and it's sort of a thing that goes for 2 or 3 weeks. He's been doing snarky tweets since E3's been airing, like, I told you, I warned you, like, it wasn't going to be great this year, blah, blah, blah. But the main thing I'll take out of Summer Games Fest is probably the biggest game trailer from the whole week, and it seems to be the thing that's on everyone's mind. And we'll get into that first up because I know you guys want to. Elden Ring.
I just want to say I hope that I hope that Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest takes over E3. Like, I think he's got the right ideas. Everyone does their own little thing, but his show was quite fun this year. I did watch it.
Like, I love Jeff Keighley. He's
good value.
So passionate, and you can tell he just really cares about gaming. And that's the thing. Like, it cracked me up after he announced it. Like, he said, like, I'm free from Game of Prison because last year when he didn't show Elden Ring when people were expecting it, they put him in Game of Prison. He's funny. I really like Jeff and his conferences, and I love the Game Awards. It's the Oscars for me every year. So, but Elden Ring, first real gameplay trailer and a release date as well. Greiner, I'll get your thoughts. You're the big Dark Soulsborne fan. What do you think of this trailer?
My note was plug it straight into my veins. Like, I'm ready for it. I'm here for it. Like, no matter what From Software did next, I was there for it. Like, they're one of only a handful of studios that I'll just, whatever they release, I don't know. After Cyberpunk 2077, I'm reluctant to say I'll pre-order it, but I'll wait with bated breath to see what they do. Like them and Supergiant are probably the only ones left in my book that I'm really excited for anything they announce. And this game looks sick. Like Dark Souls combat. There's a few interviews this week talking about how they're changing up a few things. Like they used to have abilities attached to weapons. Now you can swap abilities with different weapons. Like that sounds really interesting. And like the combinations boggle my mind. Like he's talking about 100 different abilities with weapons that already have different move sets, like in traditional Dark Souls. Like that sounds really fun. And giving it this open world, yeah, it just sounds awesome. I'm ready for it.
It looks awesome. Like, I've watched that trailer 3 times now. Just like I'm not a big Soulsborne guy. Like I've played the Dark Souls games. I like them. I love Bloodborne. I platinum Bloodborne. Couldn't get into Sekiro. Don't know what it was. I played for about 2 hours or so. It didn't hook me. Watching the gameplay for this, just that movement and everything like that, where he's fighting the boss battle and that, the abilities on the mount look so cool, and that world, obviously the collaboration with George R. R. Martin, it looks
could be good or bad.
like, I mean,
it's half finished.
The show wasn't his fault, but
the books are.
His lack of writing books is.
Yeah, well, he'll finish writing this. Well, that's why I'm surprised. We got a release date. It's coming very quickly. So he's been working on that. So Game of Thrones fans can direct their anger towards this game, apparently. Conan, what did you think of the trailer?
Yeah, I'm stoked. This is my favorite thing. I'm a huge fan as well. I played all the only one I haven't played is Demon Souls because I can't get a PS5 / won't get a PS5. And then I adore him. This looks like it's going to be Dark Souls of the Colossus. It's leaning into it's going back to those strengths. It looks like Shadow of the Colossus. It just looks phenomenal. Like they're adding the mount, which is going to be super cool. I love that From Software is kind of doing. They did it with Bloodborne where they're like, look, Dark Souls is slow and sort of it's like a chess match. This is like a frantic sort of like instinct game. And then Sekiro, they did it again. They're like, this is now it's full of deflections. They keep sort of tweaking this formula that everyone else is copying, and they keep making it fresh. And I'm assuming the mount and the ability switching is sort of the way of doing that now, where they're going back to Dark Souls with that heavy cumbersome combat, but they're going to add so much more variety. And I think that looks amazing. Like the bigger the enemies and the bigger the landscapes, the cooler it gets, and it looks like they're leaning into that too, where you're just like this tiny dude fighting this 5 million meter high monster. That looks amazing. And George Martin's like a phenomenal world builder. And like despite his flaws, like he knows how to build worlds. There's a reason why Game of Thrones took over the world for like 6 years.
Yeah.
And so I think if him bringing that sort of really interesting world building to Dark Souls, which is already which are already games that have like really interesting ways of storytelling and building world through items. I'm just super fascinated and super interested to see what he does with that.
I mean, you can ride your mount up a mountain. Like
you can mount a mount crazy.
Wall, eat your heart out, Breath of the Wild. Just took its thunder out from it completely. But I don't know. My hope with George R. R. Martin writing is that we might have a good character. Like you can't, like as much as you like the Souls game, they don't really have characters. If you know what I mean.
Wow, that's not true.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I mean. Like you don't remember the performance of Eastrid of like the Dungle Door, or anything like that from Bloodborne. Like
I'll never forget Patches kicking me off that cliff. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that mofo. I don't know. The doll in Bloodborne, it's pretty memorable as well.
It's pretty stilted acting though. But I don't know.
But I don't come to video games for motion capture. Like, if that's your thing, that's fine. But I don't think games need motion capture performances to be good. Like, to have good character. That's not video game strength.
I didn't even mention like the bad facial animations. I just talked about the acting. Like it's not a strong suit. It's not a strong suit. No one reviews Dark Souls and says, "Wow, the characters and the voice acting is amazing in this."
I think they're very charming though. Like there's a style to it, and there's definitely a roughness to it. Well, I think the roughness comes from it being an English translation, and they're possibly not getting the best voice actors all the time. But it's a very cryptic world, and that just adds another level of cryptography to it. And I find that really fun. Like it's a very hard world to penetrate, but when you get in there, there is some really interesting story things in there. Yeah. But I like. It sounds like it's George R. R. Martin's world, and then they've put their story onto it, and that's fascinating to me. Like I'm
Mm.
I'm all there for it. And the
Yeah.
enemy designs, like I think these guys might be some of the best enemy designers in the world. Like,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think like arguably hands down. Like
yeah,
every time they reveal a new creature, it's like that's what that whole trailer was. Every time they
yeah,
revealed something new, it was like, holy crap, how many hands does this guy have?
yeah.
It's really cool. But no, I can't wait to get my hands on it. And that is I believe January 22nd,
Yeah, not far
two,
away.
2022, which shocked me. That was probably the biggest thing about that is it's not that long, 6 months or so.
They seem to do that though. From like, I feel like Sekiro was like we got the big announcement about it, and it was out 6 months
Within a
later.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So next up we had Ubisoft's E3 conference. I got up to watch this. Don't remember much from it. There wasn't many noteworthy things from it. The main thing I wrote down was Mario Rabbids 2, which had leaked like the day before, so it was sort of already announced. I don't have any experience with this series. I believe you do, Grana. So did this trailer do anything for you?
Yeah, so Mario and Rabbids, I think it came out at a really good time when the Switch was really lacking anything new and interesting to play, and it really was better than it had any right to be. Like, it's this turn-based combat game, and it actually worked really well. I think, like, I have no attachment to the Rabbids or Rayman, but the Rabbid versions of the Mario characters worked really, really well. Like, I think they did an awesome job with it, and
Yeah.
I'm keen to see what they do, like bringing in Rosalina, and yeah, and just it had some really fun enemy designs. Like, I don't know, don't want
Yeah.
big spoilers for the first one, but encountering like a Rabbid version of Donkey Kong was really fun.
Yeah. Okay. True. True. No. Um, and obviously, it looks like they're leaning into a more open sort of combat with this one, like open area instead of grid based or whatever it is, but still in that sort of thing.
I feel like
Is
it'll
that
still
correct?
be.
Or?
I don't know. I mean, I saw the trailer. I feel like it's still going to be the same core gameplay, grid based gameplay. Like that's how
It,
those games work.
it's still, but you could run around a larger area. I didn't play the first one, so I don't know too much. But the commentary I've heard on it is that the first one was more moving in squares or something, while this one you can sort of run around in an area while doing your attacks outside of that area.
Maybe.
No idea what I'm talking about. Don't know too much about the first game. So
I mean, you're right about the first game. Like
yeah,
it's grid based. You move in. You have X amount of movement, and you can move that many squares.
yeah. So we'll get into the probably one of the biggest conferences of the week, Gearbox. No, just kidding.
Devolver. Devolver.
Did you watch the Devolver one?
I didn't watch. I didn't actually watch the conference. I saw a little bit of it. It looked cool, but
They're
I like to.
always
They're always very creative.
yep.
A lot more creative than Randy Pitchford and his look how friendly I am with these movie stars for 30
Who
minutes.
are so uncomfortable with him
Mm,
being there and talking to him. And the worst part about that is it came half hour after the Devolver conference, and it was half hour of them trying to do Devolver
yeah,
without any of the comedy
success.
strength behind it. But no, Devolver's always great. I love their games, and they completely know what E3 is and just appeal straight to the corporate side of things and call it out on it.
Yep.
Um, we'll get into the Xbox conference. So this was probably the meatiest conference of the thing. So we had 90 minutes, starting up with the big announcement that everyone was expecting, which leaked 20 minutes before the conference started, which was really disappointing. But what are you going to do? Starfield. So not really look at gameplay, more of just like a thematic trailer, I would say. It said it was in engine, but I think the main thing about this is they gave an exact date for it and a date that's pretty far off still. You don't see that often, like for a day and date. Obviously, they're going the whole Skyrim thing of announcing it like the 11th of 2022.
Mhm.
What do you guys think of the Starfield trailer and that release date? Grana?
Like I said, it didn't show much, but they had some nods in there. Like the Skyrim engine and Fallout engine has notoriously not allowed characters to climb ladders. But this trailer clearly shows a guy climbing a ladder, and this is like it's supposed to be on an updated engine, like it's on this whatever it's called, the second version of their engine, and I'm hoping that means good things. Like I'm hoping that means they've really improved and worked on that engine, and we're going to get a really interesting. And like by all reports, it's an RPG still, so yeah, I'm keen. Like it looks beautiful. Whether the actual game looks like that, I don't know, but I'm I'm definitely keen to see what they do. I feel like they've had some big missteps. Like Fallout 4 was fairly weak, and 76 was a bit of a disaster.
Hence why they didn't say from the creators of 76.
So I'm hoping but I have loved Skyrim in the past. I've loved Bethesda before. Morrowind was a pivotal game on my Xbox experience, even though it ran like crap. And yeah, I'm hoping they can pull out something good.
So, two things I'll touch on there before I get Conan's thoughts on it. Todd Howard actually did an interview. Someone asked him about that whole ladder thing. Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
So someone said, "Oh, we saw the little shout out that you can climb a ladder in this," and he really tried hard to just deny that. He was like, "Look," he was like, "This is a trailer that's showing stuff." He's like, building the actual game. He's like, game stuff is a pain in the ass. He's like, that is not a confirmation that you'll be able to climb ladders in this game, which is kind of a
surely they had to know though. Like, this trailer wasn't put together by accident. Like, this is their E3 trailer. Like, this went through multiple stages of people looking at it.
Yeah.
I feel like he's burying the lead a bit there or something.
There's a lot of
hopefully.
There's a lot of obliviousness in Bethesda though, like just doing things that no one thinks is a good idea, and it's like, oh yeah, this will work, guys. I don't know.
Maybe he's trying to roll it back from the complete bullshit he spun us though about Fallout 76. Like,
he's not even confirmed if you can climb a ladder.
Yeah,
you can do. I confirm you can do nothing in this game.
Yes. He's going back to his team now. Like, guys, well, we really screwed the pitch. Now we need to figure this ladder out.
Why did nobody see the ladder in the trailer?
He's like, I didn't see that there. Now it's going to be 23. We have to push it back. We need that ladder implemented.
It's foundation.
Conan, what do you think of this trailer? You're a bit of a Bethesda fan.
Yeah, I'm like any Bethesda fan. I'm jaded and burned, but I'm still fiercely loyal to them because, you know, Todd Howard's he's like a toxic relationship. I just can't give it up, but I hate every moment of it. It looks cool. Like, it looks kind of Outer Worlds. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in for because what do they call it? Like Skyrim in space / a Han Solo simulator. Like I'm in for that. But at the same time, it doesn't show much at all. It just shows a spaceship, and it's got a lot of, you know, like tongue-in-cheek things as well. Like just like scrawls on there's a message on the window, and it's like, somebody go check this out. Posters of people, so it kind of looks kind of fun. That's what I mean by it looks Outer Worlds. It kind of looks fun, and like here's sort of like the laid back attitude of the time. Hence the Han Solo stuff. Like, I don't think it's going to be a serious story. I think it's going to be very just like frolicking and gallivanting across the universe, which, when done right, is really good. Like, all of Bethesda's games have like a really sort of funny streak running through them without leaning too much into comedy.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this with Outer Worlds, whereas Outer Worlds leans more into the comedy. So if they stay true to themselves with that, if we get Skyrim in space, I'm there 100%. Or like Oblivion in space, Fallout in space, I'm keen for all that.
I will say, like, the thing about it, it does seem like it is also sort of that grounded type of sci-fi. Like, it's, you know, like a rocket launch. It's not just like this, you know, faster than light sort of travel like Mass Effect or anything like that. It seems like it's grounded in our reality sort of thing. So
yeah, I wonder if we'll even see any aliens. Like, I wonder if it'll just be humans in space.
Yeah, good point.
That's the impression I get. Someone compared it to Interstellar. As much as I hate Interstellar,
the worst of all Nolan films.
Maybe they're making a reasonable point there.
Spoilers: this game's going to be all about love.
Because there is that scene, like they spend. I did notice look when the engine sparks up, you see sort of like it's almost chugging to life. And so you're right, there is a sense of like this is a real rocket they've designed. It's not just like boom, gone. So that'd be kind of cool, like a very grounded sci-fi RPG.
But I mean, I don't know. You have like the mutants in Fallout. You have the Argonians in Skyrim. Surely they're going to have aliens in Starfield. Be kind of disappointing to just.
So they released another little teaser that it only showed a bunch of concept art. I don't know if you guys saw this, and they were just talking about the worlds. And I mean, I didn't pay a ton of attention. It wasn't that exciting, but I don't believe I saw any aliens or even like alien architecture. Like, it's all very industrial and, you know, like space marine type things. So I don't know. Maybe they're burying the lead and not going to show us that part till later.
Starfield does. Oh, you go.
You go. Sorry.
Starfield does sort of sound like man's ambition to the stars, right? Like,
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's sort of all of this is ringing true now. And I think it'd be a good offset to things like Mass Effect, which is like the best space opera we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, it would be cool to get the inverse of that and like the best hardcore sci-fi RPG we've ever seen.
Yeah. Maybe the ending's just an Argonian reveals himself and it's actually
Lizard
a future
people.
version of Skyrim.
Lizard people, man.
They're here anyway, so
Yeah.
Did you guys see there's a lot of conjecture about a scratch on the wall inside the spacecraft?
No.
It look it up. Someone on Reddit pointed it out. It looks suspiciously like a map, and there's a part of the coastline in the Elder Scrolls world that this looks exactly like. So people are theorizing that this is where Elder Scrolls 6 is going to take place. So I believe it's the same location that Daggerfall took place, but
oh wow.
it's an interesting leap in logic. But it's like it's a scratch that's very clearly in focus and doesn't look like a scratch, like it's shaped like something. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys should have a look at it. I'm curious to see what you think when you get to it.
Oh,
That just sounds like that sounds like an Easter egg, right? Just like, hey, we made this game.
Yeah.
Again, Todd's gone back to his team like, damn it, guys.
Now we have to move.
Who
now we
put
have to
that
move
in
the
there?
Elder Scrolls 6. Now it's got to be where Daggerfall is it.
So next game on this show was Back for Blood by the developers of Left 4 Dead. Any thoughts on this game, either of you two? I never played Left 4 Dead. I always wanted to, and it looks fun. But I am keen to play it. Greiner?
I am a diehard Turtle Rock apologist. Even Evolve, their disastrous game that did very poorly, I loved. I really love asynchronous multiplayer, so where teams have different roles. And I thought Evolve was awesome. Unfortunately, it kind of failed. Side point, I think Evolve could do really well in a modern shooter world where there's battle passes and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm
could
keen
have
for
done
it.
well. It could have done well. It was badly marketed, I feel
And
like.
it still has like a loyal fan base somewhere.
I don't know. I think it's like shut down now.
It's
as far as I know,
it's dead.
Oh,
it's dead.
But I think if it was released like for very cheap or free and had a battle pass model, which is not something that existed at the time when it released, it could have done pretty well. Anyway, I loved Left 4 Dead as well. I played a hell of a lot of it. I didn't really get into 2, but I'm interested to see what they do. Like I would definitely jump in for it. They showed that PvP mode, which looks exactly like Left 4 Dead's PvP mode, and I freaking loved that mode. It was so much fun being a hunter and like pouncing on someone who's away from the rest of the group. Anyway, I'm keen to play it.
It's absolutely a new Left 4 Dead. Like there's no denying it.
No, I mean they have boomers and everything. Like it looks exactly like it.
They've got
the number 4 in the title.
Like they can't help it. Conan, what's your experience with Turtle Rock?
Yeah, look, I'm like you. I miss this. I miss the whole train of this. Like, when I first moved into college, I had a lot of friends who played it, but I didn't have a laptop at the time, and I didn't have good internet, and I didn't have a lot of things that were stopping me from playing it. So everyone was into it except me. And just like a lot of those multiplayer games, I'm not a huge multiplayer game fan in general, and I was limited in my hardware, so I never got into it. Which was a shame. It looked really cool. Like I'd always see friends play it or watch videos with them, and it looked like a lot of fun. Yeah, but I feel like I'm just too old and jaded now to really get into this stuff.
Like, could you not see yourself having fun if the three of us jumped on and did the co-op together? Like, we're not versing anyone else. There's no one to beat. We're just facing off against hordes of zombies. Like, that's the thing I'm looking forward to in it.
Yeah, like if you guys were keen to play, I'd be keen to play it if I had friends who were keen to play it. I'm not going to get on by myself and try to find a community there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Bonus XP stream. We'll do it. I'm keen. And like you said, Conan, I'm a bit similar to you. An old friend of mine, shout out to Reed, loved this game so much in high school. Like I saw so much of this. I watched YouTube videos of people playing it, and I thought it looked hilarious. Unfortunately, back then I was just only a PlayStation player. I didn't have access to an Xbox or a PC, and none of those games ever came to PlayStation. So it was just something that I never got the chance to play. But it looked really fun. And I'm really keen to get into this as well. So I'll see you boys there. It'll be good.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitch.
Yes, do the bonus XP.
We've not streamed at all.
No. But the next game is actually one of my hypest moments from the whole conference. Sea of Thieves announced they're doing a Pirates of the Caribbean DLC. It was
10 years too late.
Oh, I don't know. I got so hyped when I saw Jack Sparrow there. voiced by, I can only assume it is Johnny Depp. It sounds exactly like him. It's new dialogue and everything like that. So they got him for this game. It looked like fun. And it's something similar where it's that fun multiplayer game that you could play with friends that I never got a chance to get into playing. And when I saw that this is coming out in 3 weeks, I was like, oh, that'd be kind of fun to cruise the sea and make some raids. But
It
no
just
one
seems
here
like
played Sea of Thieves. I don't think anyone did.
Nah,
So
Sea of Thieves could be the name of a book that I don't care about.
Pirates is not relevant anymore. I don't get why they're doing that now. And they're like, remember Johnny Depp from that film 10 years ago? And like, so
It is a bit random.
it's got a big community. A lot of people love Sea of
It,
Thieves.
it
So
did it did find a community. You are correct.
it got there eventually. So this one's probably one of the most shocking I found announcements. Like it blew me away watching it. The Outer Worlds 2. So watching this, I cracked up. I thought this was one of the funniest trailers of the whole show. I said, I did a live reaction to it, and I was like, this is how you do comedy. Like, Gearbox should take some notes. And I found it really funny. And I never really played much of Outer Worlds. So as I was watching it, I didn't know what I was watching. I wasn't sure what it was. And then when the finished with the moon logo, I assumed it was an expansion pack because I feel like the first one came out only recently. And when the number 2 popped up, it blew me away. I was like, what? A sequel already? So you guys both have some experience with Outer Worlds. So what did you guys think? I'll start with you, Conan.
Yeah, so anything that
Obsidian.
Obsidian, I was blanking there. Anything Obsidian does, I will go to. Like New Vegas is still one of the greatest games ever made. And this reveal kind of fills me with dread because I don't know if we'll ever get a New Vegas 2, but I'm still really hoping that their stock just keeps getting higher and people just keep giving them jobs. So I'll play this. Like I played Outer Worlds. I got it when I could because there was actually like it sold out everywhere I was looking, and because I buy physical media. For a while, I couldn't get it.
And it was free on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, shut up. Anyway, and so it's like I got when I could finally get it, I played it, and I started off loving it. Like it was great fun. It was just great to be back in like an Obsidian sort of game, and it feels very Fallouty. It feels like it's got that sort of I don't know. You can tell they are just trying to they're trying to lean into their strengths. But like, guys, this is the game you always wanted because we can't do Fallouts anymore. But I actually got pretty bored with it by the end, and I think that game went through a very big did really well, and it hyped really well, and everyone bought it. But then I think the retrospective on it actually hasn't been too kind, and so
No.
I wonder, like I will play this, but I'm also worried because for me one of the weakest parts was just that they really relied on the comedy. And as the game goes on and on, they just keep saying like this is just kind of like fun, but there's no stakes. There's no sort of I don't know. There was something lacking in that game, and I think it's because they were trying too hard to just be lighthearted and fun. And so this actually fills me with a bit of caution because I'm like, if they're just going to make more of that, I actually think that's the wrong direction to go with. But I'll still play.
Greiner?
Yeah, I totally agree. The first like 2 worlds or something in Outer Worlds 2, Outer Worlds 1 were really good. Like I really enjoyed them. I'm like, oh, I'm here for this game. I'm going to 100% it. And then like there's a really long section in the middle that's just very dull and it gets really boring. And then the ending was just pretty unsatisfying in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, every Fallout game does this as well, but it basically boiled down to a few decisions you make at the end. Like even right up to the end, they let you back out of whichever tree you're going down to choose the other path.
Yeah.
So I hope, but playing it, I was like, I hope a sequel is better. Like there's some good bones here. The first few worlds were really good. I just felt like they maybe didn't have the budget to pull off what they wanted to. And so those middle worlds became very repetitive. So I'm hoping with Microsoft behind them and like, because like you're right, I think retrospectively a lot of people finished that game and found it lacking, like we did. But I think a lot of people saw it was good there too.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that they can really take that momentum and make a really good game because it had promise.
Yeah.
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 And that's the thing. I bought into the hype. I knew you two were playing it and really enjoying it as well. I picked it up. I love Obsidian as well, and I played maybe about 12 to 15 hours and really enjoyed what I played. But I think like what Conan said, and it wasn't like I really noticed it, but there wasn't a hook in it. So when I stopped playing it and a week or two passed, I never went back to it. I just never had the desire to go back to it because there wasn't anything bringing me back to that world other than the humor. Like there was no stakes, or I didn't care about the characters or the story, and I just never went back to it at all. And it is a game I feel like people have sort of forgotten. Like it came and went, and that 2 weeks that when everyone was playing it, people loved it and were talking about it, and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
So then we also have Replaced. So this game is gorgeous. Like I love the art style of this. It looks so cool. Griner, I know you watched it. Conan, did you get a chance to check out this trailer?
No, I didn't.
So Griner, explain it and give us your thoughts on it.
So it's a 2D side scrolling game, but it looks absolutely stunning. Like it makes a really good use of like parallax effects and stuff where there's stuff moving in front of the camera, and then they cut to the action, and the action looks really sick. I just hope it plays as good as it looks. Like you've got this gunplay and sword play and stuff, and it just looks incredibly stylish. And if it plays half as good as it looks, I think it'll be awesome.
I mean, I'm just looking at it's a dystopian cyberpunk platformer. Like
Yep.
those first 2 words are my favorite 2 words. So I'm in.
I just saw Conan's eyes like dilate, his pupils.
Yeah,
So
it's like my cocaine. I'm invested for that. Like I love a good side scroll. Limbo was fantastic. So I'm
like the art style stood out so much. I found, and it was a talking point leaving that conference. A lot of people talked up Replaced a lot, so it was a good showing for them. I feel like as an indie dev. So the next game, big game. Not sure if it was a big showing. Halo Infinite. Did anyone get a chance to check out this gameplay? Mostly multiplayer. They didn't really touch on campaign at all.
Yeah.
Griner, what did you think of this, and what's your thoughts on Halo?
Some of my favorite gaming memories are playing Halo 2 multiplayer.
yeah.
I played a lot of Halo 2 multiplayer. I loved it. I would make LAN parties with my friends playing Xbox. It was great. But I don't really care about Halo anymore.
No.
I'm keen to see what Halo Infinite story is. If it comes out and people are raving about it, I'll probably play it. Because I played all the Halos up to Reach, I think, and then stopped there. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't care about Halo anymore. And the last couple have been pretty weak, apparently, so I wasn't too worried about missing out on them.
Is Reach when Bungie left?
I believe Reach was Bungie's last game.
It was after Reach.
It seems like that's sort of the narrative around Halo. It doesn't have the power that it used to. It's not a system seller anymore, I don't believe, especially after the last 1 or 2 games. Conan, you're a Halo fan as well. What did you get a chance to check this out?
So I saw the I didn't see the multiplayer thing. I saw the like 4-minute talk through trailer.
Yep.
It's kind of like half cinematic, half not even half gameplay. It's got some gameplay, sort of first person perspective.
Yep.
My answer is pretty much Griner's verbatim. Like I was at a lot of those Halo parties.
Yep.
And I grew up Halo. I remember still like when my friend from school brought his Xbox over to my house and we played Halo. I was like, this is the future. And I was like, Mum and Dad, we have to get an Xbox because we can't not get an Xbox. And yeah, I loved them all. I was a huge fan, and I played Reach, and then I was a huge fan until 343 took it over and was like, I don't know. It's just that thing that we've talked about before on our other podcast, The Good, the Bad, and the Worst, where you get like these fans or like these. You get this second party that comes in and it's like, oh, we love this or we believe in this property. We know what it's about. And they try to emulate it and it never works. And I just feel like that's what 343 is doing there. Not Bungie. They don't truly have the DNA of Halo. They're fans playing at it. And so I tried to play Guardians and I got like halfway through. I was like, I'm so done with this. I just don't care.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because Halo is up there with like, maybe not to the same sort of caliber, like iconically is up there with Mario and stuff. Like it's one of the biggest franchises of all time. Everyone recognizes it. And I really want to get a great Halo game every year. I wish there was that.
Yeah.
But after Guardians, I'm just like, it's not good anymore. I couldn't care for it. The one thing about this was kind of like, because they're still leaning into that Cortana story.
Yeah.
But the trailer ends with him taking this other AI into his head, and it's kind of like, okay, maybe this is like he's got a different Cortana, and it's their relationship rather than just like this forlorn Master Chief going, "Where is Cortana?" So I'm hoping that there's a cool story there, but I don't know if I'll play it.
The idea of like an open world Halo where the Halo is the world really appeals to me. Like, that's a great idea. If that was what Halo 3 was, I would have been like all there.
Mm.
Apparently they've got, is it Joe Staten or whatever? Like, he was one of the original writers of Halo. Like, he voiced the grunts in the original Halos. Apparently he's back writing. So like, I'm really hoping he can bring some of that original DNA back, and maybe it will be good. But
Yeah.
Mm.
I'll wait and
Hopefully.
see. I'm not pre-ordering anything, but I won't be there day one probably either.
No. And so that's the thing with Halo. Like, in my experience, obviously, when you guys were having LAN parties, I was at home playing Killzone 1, being like, this is the Halo killer. But, like, I have a very distinct memory of Halo 1. My older brother had a granny flat at the back of our house at the time, and he got the Xbox, which back then I thought, this is like the world's most powerful console. Look at Halo, zooming in on the grass and being like, look at the grass.
You can see the grass, man.
It's like real life. And I remember sneaking, like literally breaking into his window when he was at work and like playing Halo. And it blew my mind. I loved Halo 1. I can recall every level from that game.
Yep.
It still is to this day the only Halo I've played start to finish. Love the multiplayer as well, but wasn't there to play Halo 2 or 3 or anything like that. I've played them games, but not start to finish and like really involved in it. My takeaway with Halo Infinite is I think it was a really lackluster showing when they had a lot of pressure on them. And I thought this year was their year to come back and reclaim that, because last year they had a really poor showing. They created the meme of Craig, like the bad looking brute. And it's been a year and we haven't heard or seen anything. And this was the conference to come back and be like, this is what we've been working on. Graphically, it looked better. They didn't talk about a campaign. And the most worrying thing is no release date, like not even a release window, sometime this year, they said. And to not have that a year after the Xbox Series X launched with Master Chief on the box, like he's on the box to advertise Halo Infinite. It was meant to launch with the Series X. And here we are a year later, and they still don't have a release date for it. It's not a great sign, but yeah.
I think it could be a great sign. Like, I wish they had leaned, like I said this before, but I really wish they had leaned into what happened to Cyberpunk 2077. That was a game that was full of hype, and they kept pushing it back little by little instead of just saying, look, it's obviously not ready yet. We're going to take the time till it's the game that you want it to be. That would have given me some confidence. But yeah.
And in that's the thing. I was wondering during the Microsoft conference, I was like, is there going to be any mention of Cyberpunk? Because it was like their headliner for like the last 2 years running. Like it was the thing they closed their show with, and it turned out to be a disaster. So I wasn't sure if they were going to announce like their official next gen versions or whatever at this conference, but no mention of it. But so the next game actually was one of the most impressive visually games of the whole show, I found, and it blew me away and completely won me over, which is a surprise given the genre. But Forza
Microsoft
Horizon 5, that's next. Forza Horizon 5. They started by just showing some landscapes of this game, and I was sitting there and I was blown away by the graphics, and I was like, wow, I was like, this looks really cool. And then a car came in, and straight away I was like, it's Forza, damn it. And then I found myself captivated watching it, and every time they would go to like showing the landscapes and then a car driving through it, I was blown away that I was convinced I was watching real life footage before the car would come in. Graphically, I think it's one of the most impressive things I've seen so far. And then it was followed up with Microsoft Flight Simulator, which every time I see that game blows me away, and I really want either a better PC or an Xbox Series X. And I keep dropping hints to my wife and being like, look, we could fly past our house and look at us. Like, look at this. You could visit your childhood home. I keep trying to sell her on this stuff because Microsoft Flight Simulator looks like a technical marvel, and I so want to experience that. Did you guys get to check out either the trailer for Flight Simulator or Forza Horizon 5?
I watched them. I like Forza Horizon 5. Obviously beautiful. I feel like forever car games have been, this is the benchmark for the next console. You know, Gran Turismo used to be the one. The original Forza was the one. Now it's this Forza Horizon. Looks beautiful. I don't really play car games, but I used to like them. Like Need for Speed 2 was my jam, and if I played one, that like this would be probably it. But yeah.
And same sort. Conan?
Yeah, I don't know. I cannot get remotely interested in racing games anymore. Like
No.
on the N64, Cruising USA was great. F-Zero X was really good. Mario Kart was a banger. But like, just when it's and I missed the Need for Speed sort of like PS2 generation that a lot of people got into and really sort of
Mm.
captured a whole audience. I think I sort of missed that, and now it's really like it's kind of like sports games where they're like, look how technically correct this is. Like this is the most realistic racing game you will ever play. I'm like, I don't want to race cars in real life. I don't know why I'd want to race cars in video games.
But
Forza-
Horizon is the kind of the one that pushes against that, where
Okay.
you've got the modes where you're doing jumps and flips and loop loops and
Like Forza
Still don't
Motorsport's
care.
the sim, and Forza Horizon's like your
the fun
arcadey
one.
one. They had a Hot Wheels DLC in like the last one.
I'm
So.
trying to care, but I genuinely can't.
I'm in the same boat. Like I've never been a car guy, and which is why I zoned out of the trailer. But then it brought me back in because it was that graphically impressive that I thought it looked cool. And Flight Simulator, have you played it, Griner? Because obviously it's out on PC, and you haven't got a chance to.
No, I know you're enamored by it, and it just doesn't
I
really
am.
appeal to me. It looks like I watched a streamer fly to Epstein's Island. That was pretty funny, but that
Oh
was
god.
about it.
Yeah. No, see, I convinced a friend of mine. She showed her husband this, who's not a gamer at all, and he's now got like this full flight simulator looking desk, and like he gets all, and he's super into it.
It's a big thing that people who like they don't play games or they're not fans of anything really, they get into Flight Simulator. And it's like, yeah, I own an Xbox and I play maybe one of the sports games and Flight Sim. That's like,
yeah.
okay.
Mm.
I don't know. Every time I watch this game, I'm blown away by just like the visuals of it and just like the scope of the world and everything. That I just sit there, I get a tear in my eye. I'm like, I could fly anywhere. I could finally travel because I never will be able to. But
That's probably
Yeah,
why.
I appreciate the people that want to like sit there and engage the flaps and turn on the engines in sequence and all this stuff like that. They want to have that experience. That's cool. I'm glad there's people out there that enjoy that. But
yeah. So then Microsoft finished off their conference with the announcement of a new IP by Arcane Studios, Redfall, which gave me a lot of Back for Blood vibes in a way, kind of.
Yeah,
But
I had the same thought.
Griner, what do you think of Redfall?
I mean,
and Arcane.
It looks cool. I'll be honest. I haven't played any Arcane games. I don't think. Like I don't think
You
there's
haven't
a single.
played Dishonored?
No, I haven't even played Dishonored. I haven't played Prey.
Okay.
So, I understand there's a pedigree there, and I think they're a good developer as far as I know. But I mean, I don't know if this came out and it's 10 times better than Back for Blood, I'll play it. Like they look like the same game to me.
Definitely
They do the thing that needs to be done more, where there's magic and guns together. Like she reloads the gun with her telekinesis. Give me more of that stuff.
I thought that was cool. And vampires are obviously not zombies, but it's vampires in this.
Yeah.
Conan, what do you think? You're a bit of an Arcane fan, aren't you?
Yeah, Arcane. Look, Arcane's one of those studios that I thought I'd be there for anything, but I'm not super sold on this. For all those same reasons, it looks like that. It looks like it's just going to be a very sort of like going for a fun vibe. He's got like the dude filming himself, the girl reading the comic book with her mind, like that kind of like tongue in cheek. We're all badasses here versus like super evil British vampires. I feel like I've seen that sort of like styling a billion times before, but yeah, because you're right. Magic and guns are really cool. Like the Darkness, really interesting games, and it combined with like that weird supernatural magic with guns. So I want to see what they do, but I'm not overly excited for this.
If you had told me this was like a new Fortnite game mode, I would have believed you. That's what it looks like to me. Like the style looks like a Fortnite game.
Guns that are 10 times their like body size.
Yeah.
Really, if they were going to do another like 4-player zombie sort of thing, they should have just done a Shaun of the Dead.
I'd play that.
Yeah,
Shaun of the Dead 4-player co-op. There you go. There's an idea for the future. Well, we'll get into a segment for the show. The hot take for this fortnight, since we're talking about Microsoft and the Redfall trailer. So, Xbox and Microsoft seem to have this thing with CGI trailers. It's what they show their games off with the most without showing any gameplay. Like, I don't know how much you can be excited for Redfall or get hyped about it when it's just a CGI trailer. Like, who knows what this will look like? Who knows what it'll play like when we actually see it? Who knows when? Because we can't even see any gameplay yet. And it seems to be a common theme that we keep getting these CGI trailers, and it's like it's not showing off the power of the console because anyone can do a CGI trailer. Like, it seems to be the Microsoft thing, and it's a criticism that's been thrown at them a lot. This week in like the gaming journalism world, there's been this whole debate about, is the narrative that Xbox has no games, that narrative is dead now because look at all these games they've just announced and shown. My question is that really true when most of the games that were shown don't have release dates, were CGI trailers, or where 80% of the games shown are third-party games that are coming to PlayStation like as well?
80%?
I'd say 80%.
I want to see some sources for your stats, man.
Most of the ones we've talked about, most of the ones that we're hyped about, haven't been cross-platform.
No, the ones we've talked about haven't. But a lot of the smaller ones...
you said these are the noteworthy ones.
Okay, you got me there. But I'll just say, there was about 10 or 15 third-party games that, sure, they'll say console launch exclusive because it'll be on Xbox a month before it's out on PlayStation.
Sure.
But eventually they will come. Like The Medium, which so far is the only exclusive Series X game that's come out since the Series X launched, has just been announced for PS5 this September. Like, it's coming out there as well. One thing I'll mention in regards to Redfall and Arcane, it is interesting because as soon as this trailer started, the first thing that came to my mind was Deathloop, which is currently a PlayStation exclusive that Bethesda and Arcane are developing, which is super weird because it was before the deal was struck between Microsoft and them. But the main character in that looks exactly like the main character in this, the lady with the afro.
Yeah, I hope Deathloop doesn't just like die quietly because of this.
Well, Deathloop looks awesome.
Yeah,
like, I'm really keen for that. It looks so good. It looks like Dishonored, but more fast-paced, frantic. The gameplay of Dishonored is super fun, and it's Dishonored without that whole dark under. Like, it's fully just embracing the zaniness, and it's in a time loop. Like, it looks like a lot of fun. So, but yeah, what do you guys think? Do you look at Xbox as the games machine? Like, it doesn't compare to PlayStation, obviously, with exclusives, but like, I'm being honest. You can call me PlayStation fanboy, but it's not.
But I mean, how many exclusive built for PS5 titles are there at the moment anyway that are out?
Okay, so I mean, in the 6 months that we've had Returnal.
Yeah, that's one.
We've had Demon Souls.
It's a remake.
Debatable.
You can't say it's a remake.
You can say it's a remake.
You can
because
say
that's
it's a
what
remake,
it is.
but it's a PS5 exclusive. You can't say the game that was on PS3 is not. It's not the same as the one that's on PS5.
Let's not get lost in that. We'll put a pin in it. So, okay, that's 1.2.
And the game that everyone's raving about at the moment, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, is also a PS5 exclusive.
Sony fanboys are raving about that. Is that it? Like,
well, this is what is it? Is that Astro's Playroom?
Astro's Playroom. Which, Conan, just wait. You don't have a PS5. You haven't played it. It's a fantastic game.
I played it on PS4. It's boring.
No, that's different. No, you're thinking of Astrobot Rescue Mission. This is Astro's Playroom.
It's the same basic thing, right?
No. Anyway, this is a
Astro's
tech demo.
Playroom is just a tech demo, though.
But it's a really fun 3-4 hour game that's built in on PS5. Anyway, when you talk about exclusives as well, though, you also have Miles Morales that came out at the launch of PS5.
But is that on PS4?
It's on PS4 as well. But if you're talking exclusives,
this is not the argument anyway. Like, I think Microsoft has gone with a long play in buying a bunch of studios. Like, the last few years, they have bought so many studios and lots of really quality ones too, like Obsidian, like obviously Bethesda. Yeah. I think it's going to take time for games to come out of that. And we had COVID, which is going to slow that down even more. So I think all they have at the moment is these non-gameplay trailers. But I think once that gamble pays off, once that investment pays off, then I think we'll see the tide turn. Like now, yeah, you're right. There's not that many exclusive games. We're only seeing trailers that are not showing like in-game footage. And it was like that last year. But I feel like if there hadn't been COVID and all those studios had gone off to a running start with Microsoft, I think we would have seen a bit more gameplay this year.
But that's my point, that I think the issues affecting Xbox with not having any exclusives, it's affecting both consoles. Like, there's nothing out on either of them really. And so you're right. They're in the long run. So the narrative that Xbox doesn't have games, it's like they don't have them yet because neither console has them yet. So, but they're gonna have a lot of games and titles coming as soon as everything returns to normal.
Let us take a stroll down memory lane for a moment here. I'm not. You can talk about since the PS5 launched 6 months ago, which obviously also has constraints due to COVID, and the reason stuff like God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West arguably are coming to PS4 as well, is the fact that no one can get their hands on a PS5 at the moment. Like, why abandon this install base of 100 million players when there's only 8 million PS5s in the world at the moment? Like, when you look at exclusives, and I know, here's the thing, I'm not hating on Xbox. Honestly, the next few years look really, really promising for Xbox.
So the narrative's dead.
No, it may be in a few years, not right now. Right now, the narrative still exists because when you look at PlayStation, last year, this is only last year, we also had Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2. No matter what your opinions are, they're two big AAA exclusives. There was no Xbox Series X Xbox exclusives last year. And when you go through the list of exclusive games that PlayStation had last generation, and you look at the Xbox side of things, we got Crackdown 3 and Sea of Thieves.
I mean, like I said, that was a huge problem, and Microsoft saw that it was an issue, invested in a heap of really quality studios, and this is about to change.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you can say Xbox doesn't have any games at the moment, but I feel like anybody saying that is not looking over the next 2 years.
And I feel like the games that everyone's playing on both consoles is like Valhalla, which both you can play on either console and you can play on last gen or current gen. And so I'm like, so the narrative of games on these consoles being truly for these consoles barely exists. You've got 3 games on PlayStation and 1 on Xbox. So I feel like the entire conversation about the narrative is talking about like a year or 2 down the track, as to what Greiner was saying. Like there is no conversation to have now because there's 4 games.
Yeah, we'll say it's like 8 till half of 1, but instead of 3 to 1.
Astro World doesn't count as a game.
It does.
3-hour test demo.
But look, all I'm saying, and like I've said, and I'll make clear again, I'm not hating on Xbox. I think there is a big argument to be made that Xbox doesn't need exclusives. Games Pass is magnificent. The fact that you can look at Doom Eternal or all these games, Devil May Cry 5, all these games that are on Games Pass that you get for $9.99 a month or whatever it is, or on PlayStation you're paying $50, $60 for that game, is an amazing reason to get an Xbox. But I'm saying nobody's buying an Xbox because it has that game and PlayStation doesn't. Like that's not a thing that's existed. And yeah, maybe 2 or 3 years from now it will, but it might not. Because all we're getting at the moment is CGI trailers, which Xbox have been doing for 5 or 6 years, and the games turn out to be bad. People were getting hyped when they saw Terry Crews in a Crackdown 3 trailer. How did that turn out? People were getting hyped for Sea of Thieves for years and years, and it got delayed and delayed and delayed.
Yeah, but
these games are quality.
Sea of Thieves has a big community now. Like, it's done really well for itself. Sure, it took a while to get there, but games don't launch and then nothing happens with them. Like, games have big tails now, and I feel like Sea of Thieves is a great example of how you capitalize on.
And to your point, Last of Us 2, which was like the biggest exclusive, actually lost a huge amount of the fan base. So I'm like, you could argue that
that's arguable.
You could argue that their exclusive actually didn't do good of what it should be doing.
Like, it lost a toxic amount of people who weren't actually fans of the game and who saw rumors and leaks and decided to come up with their own interpretation. By the way, I'm Luke Morgan. My favorite game of all time is The Last of Us Part 2. Hate on me all you want. But that they didn't lose a big part of the fan base. Okay. The fact is they still won more Game of the Years than any Game of the Year, any game in history. And a lot of them fan voted. They still won.
Luke has said on numerous occasions that game journalism is dead and the awards don't matter. So I feel like that...
Except for the Game Awards, that's the only one he's...
I feel like all your points are moot.
Exactly. Oh, wait, no, the Game Awards didn't give it to The Last of Us. No! Anyway, Hades is good too. But
Hades was the best game last year. Hands
debatable.
down.
Never debatable.
No, hands down.
Well, hey, that's another announcement from this comment. Hades is coming to Xbox Series X. I believe August or something, the physical release is.
Sounds right.
July. But I'm keen to play that. I still haven't played Hades, but I will get there eventually. So next up, the final conference that we'll get into was Nintendo's conference, which was this morning at 2 a.m. that I actually got up and did a live reaction to, but due to technical difficulties, no one will ever see my brilliance during then. So, have you guys caught up with any of the stuff from the conference?
Yeah, I had a
Obviously,
look.
you had a look at one of the games, I'm sure of. We'll get into it. The three main announcements, I think. Our first one is Metroid Dread. Griner, are you a Metroid fan?
No, I've never played a Metroid game. Metroid Dread looks sick though. Like, I would give it a go. Maybe if it was free.
Conan, it won't be free. It's
No, I know.
Nintendo.
It'll be $80
$70
forever.
for the rest of eternity.
Yeah, the same deal. I've never played it. It's one of those like Nintendo titles that huge amounts of people are fans of and have like played all of them. But from what I've gathered, like it seems like a really interesting franchise that I kind of want to get into. But it seems really cool, like that it's leaning into horror more. Because from what I've gathered, they all sort of dabble in that. They're all like you're this lone survivor in this situation, but they're kind of fun. Whereas this looks like it's a bit more like you're a lone survivor. That's inherently scary. So it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool. Does anyone know the backstory on this game? So apparently, Metroid Dread was like making the rounds in rumors that it was in development back in like 2007, 2008. Like a lot of journalists came out today and been like, I heard about this game years ago and I haven't heard about it in a decade and now it's returned sort of thing. And it seems like a lot of people are excited for it. I've never played a Metroid game, but
it seems like Nintendo's made it very clear this is the last 2D Metroid game you'll get to. Like, so it sounds like it was just something they had nearly finished and they're like, oh, just finish it off, we'll release it and call it a day on 2D Metroid.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing, it doesn't look like obviously it's Switch and it's 2D, but it doesn't look very visually impressive. I don't think it stood out like that.
I think it looked cool, but yeah.
It was cool, and I like
it's not
the
pushing
whole
any boundaries.
horror aspect of it. I'm sure there were a few people confused that they were like, we don't have anything else to talk about Metroid Prime 4, but here's Metroid 5. But obviously Prime and Metroid are a different series, and Prime 4 is a long way off, I think.
Apparently.
Still. So, unfortunately. We also had Mario Party Superstars, which at first I thought was an expansion or DLC for Mario Party, but it's a whole separate game to get the classic levels from Mario Party 64, like the games on Nintendo 64, which is cool. Like seeing them in HD and everything like that was really cool. Bunch of classic levels and everything like that. What are your guys' thoughts on this and Mario Party as a whole?
Don't really care.
Oh, really?
No, not really.
I like Mario Party, and I loved the games on Nintendo 64, but I don't think I'll be double dipping for a few extra classic levels or anything. Conan?
No, never got it. Never played a single Mario Party. Don't plan.
Oh, really?
Don't plan to.
Oh, bonus XP streams will have a game night. It'll be fun. I'll play as Princess Peach. Well, we'll get into what everyone wants to talk about anyway. So it finished. I was really disappointed when I was waiting for Breath of the Wild 2, and when they started talking about Hyrule Guardians, the new expansion thing for it, I was so devastated. I was like, this is really how they're closing out E3. But they did get to Breath of the Wild 2. We got our first look at some gameplay, some new gameplay features and everything like that, and a rough date of 2022 next year. Griner, you're a bit of a Breath of the Wild fan. What do you think of this?
Me, like most people, really enjoyed Breath of the Wild, yes. Yeah, I'm there for it. Like, Breath of the Wild was a really, really good game. I don't really care that it looks like they're using like lots of the same map features and stuff. Like the new aerial zones look really cool. Yeah, and just like they showed some new skills. Like it didn't show a lot. They showed some new skills and stuff. But if it's more Breath of the Wild and it's as good as the last one, I'm there for it.
Conan, you're a Zelda fan, but you haven't played Breath of the Wild. Is that correct?
Despite Ocarina being my favorite game of all time, I just haven't had a Nintendo console for a while, so I missed this. I didn't want to pay $500 for one game, so
a lot of people did.
You could buy a secondhand Wii. I did. I literally did.
Yeah, you can play it on Wii.
Wii U.
I didn't. Oh no, I didn't know that. Yeah, I could do that, I guess, but I'm also like maybe I should just wait until the Switch becomes somewhat affordable for me and I just buy one. So yeah, like as soon as I do, I will play these games. Like they look great, and like Griner said, everybody who played them adored them. Like nobody except Luke really had any issues with it.
I love Breath of the Wild, but I was going to say, Conan, you don't have to play Breath of the Wild. You already played Horizon, so you played the superior version of it anyway.
Yeah, because they're so similar.
But,
Hey, man, I wasn't the one that started the comparisons. It was the rest of the internet that made the comparisons with Horizon and Breath of the Wild.
I didn't do the crimes. I just let them happen, right?
But yeah, no, I thought it looked good. Looked like more Breath of the Wild. Didn't look like anything super different. He can climb through a mountain.
Teleported through a rock, man.
Yeah, exactly. Not
He
as cool
stasis like 10 things in one go.
Not as cool as riding your mount up a mountain.
But that's
Elden Ring
like
beat him to that.
That's what Nintendo does, right? They have a working formula. They don't need to change it. So
No, because
good on
they
them.
don't need to. They're successful and people lump praise on them no matter what. But I will say one of the most surprising things was the lack of a Switch Pro announcement. If there was one thing I was certain of heading into the Nintendo conference, I thought it was going to be a Switch Pro.
A lot of people
Seems
thought,
like it's been making the rounds for the last few weeks.
But like
What happened?
the announcement right before the direct was like, we look forward to showing you all our software.
I know.
Very clearly not going to be about hardware. I don't think Nintendo cares that much about the Switch. Like, I don't know. Like, they'll announce it. It'll be at a Treehouse thing that they do. I don't think it's going to be huge fanfare for them.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
if Breath of the Wild 2 was coming out this year, I think they would have announced it and been like, the Switch Pro is also coming out. But it's not like we saw games that couldn't have run on the original Switch today. Like,
I mean, the Switch Pro, everything that runs on the Switch Pro is going to run on the Switch anyway.
I know, but you know what I mean. It's not like Breath of the Wild 2 was shown running in 60 frames a second in 4K resolution or anything like that. It all looked like your standard sort of stuff. But yeah, no, it was something that I found like lacking as well. But Grana, you're our Smash Brothers fan.
Yep.
You like Smash Brothers. You always bring it over whenever we have a game night
because it's like one of the only party games on Switch
that's available now. What was your thought on the Smash Brothers announcement character?
I know nothing about it. He's from Tekken, right? Like I know nothing about him.
Tekken,
I don't care about the DLC characters in Smash Brothers. I'm sorry.
Oh, really? None of them so far?
No. I mean, I just like there's enough characters already. I'm not so into it that I understand the nuance between the 4 different Fire Emblem characters. Like, I just get in there and spam Falcon Punch, and that's all I do. So.
Well, Captain Falcon got murdered brutally.
He did. He got thrown into it.
I always love the trailers. They're always like oddly dark for Smash Brothers.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Ever since the internet went wild for Mario getting murdered, they've tried to one up it on every trailer. And Conan, you don't have much experience with the Switch, but do you know Tekken characters? Do you have much experience with Tekken?
Man, Tekken 2, I was a big fan of, and that's about it.
Yeah, only character I know by name from Tekken is like King and Eddie Gordo, because everyone spammed him and beat me when I was a kid.
Which one's the little dinosaur?
Dino.
No.
Anyway, who cares?
Probably Dino.
I don't care about Tekken.
No one does really.
But yeah,
there are people. You just made them angry.
Good. Fight me in real life, you nerds.
Well, but that was it. That was E3 overall. Is there any games that I didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
Yes, several.
Yes, bring
Stalker
them up
2.
So I did have this on my list. And I removed it because I didn't think it showed anything really impressive.
Really? Like Stalker 1 is a game I've tried to play several times. It's kind of on my list of shame of games that I think I would really like if I got into. Yeah. But it's kind of old enough now that it's kind of rough. Yeah. But yeah, I'm keen to have a look at Stalker 2. There's been a few games over the years made by Russian developers that I really, really love. Like, what's that series with the bullets? Metro and Escape from Tarkov, which I play a lot of now. And I just think they have an interesting way of doing things. It just seems slightly different, and this game is giving me those vibes again. And so I'm keen for it. And I like the setting.
That's the thing. Like, it looked good. Like, I'm not criticizing or anything. It just gave me that same sort of vibe as like, oh, it's like another sort of Metro game, because I never played the original Stalker. Conan, you strike me as a man that likes the original Stalker.
I shaped my facial hairstyles like Russian people. So I'm all in on this. Yeah, look,
Yes.
I think to that point, like Stalker, even when it was released, was not a easy game to get into. Like it's never been, it's always been dated. It's never felt smooth or good. So I think the idea that this is like the next big step that's going to actually just deliver a smooth game is like a big deal. So even though you're right,
Yep.
it's not pushing like the graphical boundaries or anything, but the fact that it's like, hey, we're actually we're a game that's going to handle itself and run smoothly, like that's a big deal. And the trailer
Yeah.
does really like. There's a few parts that resemble Metro so much,
Yeah.
which I think is a strength because Exodus was like one of the best games of the year, and I loved it. And yeah, I think to your point, Grinder, like I love the Russian developers what they're doing. They do all their games do have a unique sort of feel, and it's just really cool to get this different voice into it instead of just having a predominantly Western sort of games market.
Yeah.
And Metros are kind of clunky, but that adds to the charm in a lot of ways for me. And so I like the idea of this sort of. And Stalker's the same deal. Like it's a game you have to force yourself to tolerate almost to like appreciate there. And so I'm really keen for this, and like I'll be there I think from day one because anything like Metro, I'm all for.
I think these like Russians have really interesting storytelling around like apocalypses and
Chernobyl and
yeah,
this
like this
whole
post-apocalyptic
nuclear
landscapes.
Mm.
sort of.
There's something about it they do really well. So
Have either of you guys seen Stalker the movie?
no,
Didn't know that there was a movie.
Oh wow, well, that's why it's called Stalker. Like it's not an action film at all, but it's it's really like that's the kind of film that I think really personifies that sort of that what you just mentioned, like the Russian sort of philosophy and cultural appreciation of like the apocalypse and of dystopia. And that's weird. This game was modeled after that. It's literally like the same sort of premise, but it's got guns.
So the game's based on the movie.
No, so the movie is about there's a strange place called like the zone, and people go there, and there's anomalies, and the government's cordoned it off, and these guides called stalkers take tourists into the zone for whatever reason. You know, they're looking for an artifact, or usually it's to find artifacts like. And we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's aliens. We don't know if it's like war. We don't know if it's a. There's obviously a lot of very clear cultural subtext about World War II and just communism and all this sort of stuff. And the games basically took that same premise of like there's a zone where weird stuff happens and stalkers take people or go into there to look around. But they added guns and made it a lot more like an action survival. Whereas the movie is ultra philosophical. But that's why it's Stalker with like dots. It's S.T.A because they couldn't actually say Stalker without,
Yeah.
So like we're clearly inspired by this, but we're our own sort of thing, and we're not actually making a game based off that.
True. Griner, any other games you found noteworthy?
So Inscription, I don't know if you guys saw this. It looks like it's a horror card game.
Yeah.
Looks kind of looks interesting. Like
MVP of the
I
whole
like I like what they're going for.
I was going to say, you guys in card games,
my bread and butter.
like you're just going back. You're going to start typing on like typewriters or something to play your PC games.
You just wait till we have our Slay the Spire segment every week.
Oh no!
No, I'm keen to see how that one turns out. Atomic Heart. Have you guys seen?
What conference was that game at?
Sorry? I believe it was at Devolver.
Okay, I missed that one. So,
Atomic Heart. Have you guys seen anything about Atomic Heart?
I've been following this since the first trailer released, like a few years ago. I think it was now, and it looks awesome.
Yeah. The setting looks really good. I'm not sure if these are Russian developments, but I definitely get that vibe again.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same sort of thing. I think the gameplay doesn't look amazing, but I'm really keen to see what they do. I hope they can pull it off because the world they've shown us in these trailers and some of the enemies are very, very creative.
Yep. Yeah, it looks so good. I remember watching that first one came. I was like, people kind of like, this is the next BioShock, but this is also the next like System Shock with it. And just and it's like mixed with elements of all cool apocalyptic stuff. It looks so much fun.
Yep. The final one I just wanted to mention was Sable. I hadn't seen this game before. Apparently, it's been released, like announced some time ago. But did you guys see Sable? It was at the Game Awards.
No.
Was this? You just have a look at a screenshot for it when you get a chance. But it was probably the most visually interesting game that I saw there. This really cool cel shaded art style, giving me big Nausicaa Journey vibes, and I've been reading Dune at the moment, and it's giving me huge Dune vibes. So I'm really keen to see how it turns out. It looks absolutely stunning to me, and I
Is
hope
this
it's as
the
fun to
one
play as it looks.
made by the developer of Journey?
Could be.
I say it looks very Journey-esque, doesn't it?
It does.
Not sure, but I like the art style of it. Absolutely. One game I do want to give a quick shout out to. I didn't put it on my list because I don't feel like it showed anything that it hasn't shown last year or the year before. But I'm really keen for 12 Minutes. Have you guys seen the trailer for that?
No.
It's
Yes,
the
it's got
top-down time loop.
Daisy Ridley and
Daisy Ridley, James McAvoy, and Willem Dafoe. Like, great cast of 3 characters. It's a top-down view Conan, like bird's eye view of just this room, and it's a husband and wife, and it's the same 12 minutes repeating over and over again, and you've got to figure out what's going on. Like, Willem Dafoe's a police officer that barges in the house while this couple, like married couple, is either arguing or having a nice dinner together, and he arrests James McAvoy, which I don't believe is the character's name, it's just the actor's name. But
it does look interesting. I'm keen to see what it turns out
So it's like a mystery.
When this was announced, like, the whole time loop genre wasn't really a thing, but it seems like it's really popular all of a sudden. So it's kind of like, oh, that's right, that's still a thing. But it does look interesting, and I'm keen for it. And I mean, that's an impressive cast as well. So should be good. So shout outs to that as well.
That looks really interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Any other games, Griner?
No, that was my list.
So overall, what did you guys find as the most? What stood out this week? What's your game of show? Griner, I'll start with you.
I'll say Sable is the one that interests me the most at the moment because it's coming out. I think it's coming out in September, so it's not far away. It just looks stunning, and I'm keen. Yeah. Maybe it won't play great, but I'm keen to see what happens with it.
Conan, out of all the trailers you watched, what stood out the most to you?
It'd be Elden Ring.
That's what I was expecting Griner to say, but
it's up there, but it's still further away. So I thought I'd go something a bit sooner.
Yeah, true. I mean, for me, that's still like it's close.
It is,
and it's just so nice to see, progress being made, and not just like another sort of like teaser, or not another like, we're still here, guys, but we're not going to say when. There's like, no, here's a date, here's what it looks like. So get keen.
Yeah.
And I got keen.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. It stood out to me as the most thing that, like, I'm most keen to play that game. I'll give my game a show to maybe surprisingly Forza Horizon 5. It really impressed me. Like, I was blown away by the graphics in that game. There's a 10-second clip. If you watch it on YouTube, my reaction to it, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is real life, because they just talked about how they recorded real footage to compare, like, and I'm like, this is the real footage of the Mexico desert. And then a car drives in, and I'm like, I'm mind blown by it. Like, and I know everything's not about graphics, but it looks really impressive. Gameplay wise, Elden Ring wins it for me. Quite a strong open and close to the week of E3, I think. Like, starting with Elden Ring on day one and finishing with Breath of the Wild 2, even though I don't feel like we got much from Breath of the Wild 2. It's still a big announcement, and it's still cool to see that there's something there. But yeah, Elden Ring definitely stood out.
No one's going to mention Mario Rabbids as their highlight.
I almost shouted out Sea of Thieves because for some reason I was so insanely hyped about the Pirates of the Caribbean announcement. But
don't shit on Mario Rabbids. It's good.
Yeah,
man, sure.
People love that stuff. But Microsoft Flight Simulator and Forza almost sold me on buying an Xbox Series X, and I got a notification today that the Microsoft Store had them available for sale, and I was this close to buying one. I was like, oh, I should. Flight Simulator comes out next month. I really want to play that.
Did you have a PC? Can that not run it?
It would probably melt my PC if I wanted it to look how the way it did.
It would definitely run it. It just might not look the best.
I'm not good with controlling PC.
You can plug a controller into a PC. Anyway.
Oh, true. Well, anyway, that was the first ever episode of the Bonus XP podcast. Thank you for joining us. If this is your first time listening to us or watching us, we actually have another podcast that we've been doing for 6 to 7 months now called The Good, the Bad, and the Worst. where every fortnight we sit down and we review a movie trilogy, and decide which one's the burst, which one's not the blurst,
Which one's the blurst?
which one's the worst, and what went wrong with it, and what could be improved with it, and everything like that, and some good fun discussions are had in that. Check out the Alien podcast; it was nice and heated as well. Greiner's favorite one. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. I'm your host, Luke Morgan. That's Conan.
Ciao.
That's Greiner.
Catch you later.
We'll see you next time. Thanks.